Welcome everybody to another episode of Into the Stratusphere. I'm your girl Cindy G, and of course, fresh gel manicure. I got my nails done this morning at my nail shop, which thank goodness the nail shop, along with other personal care service, is still open, but with like stricter modifications, since I know that California, we're officially in a lockdown, like no joke. And of course, like the nail shop I go to, they only have is just 2 employees. The owner and just the regular employee. And today is just me and my nail tech, which is actually the owner that I always go to, and he does a bomb job. So Eric, if you're listening to it or if you're watching it on YouTube, thank you so much. I love it so much. But anyway, how are y'all doing? So hopefully you guys are getting ready for Thanksgiving. I know we're still in this crazy time, you guys, but all I can say is that do the best you can, especially like taking proper precaution. I know that you're going to be stuck at home with like, nothing else to do, but like the only thing that matters is just celebrating with your loved ones and your family, and also like people that does care as well, like within the household, or like you can only invite just close family member or close loved one, as long as it's like not from like out of state or anything like that. I'm just saying, y'all. So yeah, looking forward to Thanksgiving. Cannot wait to cook some of the side dishes. And also the only person who's going to be coming over to the house is actually my father, which last time I seen it is on Halloween. So I know he's been going through a really difficult time. So yeah. And lastly, I just wanted to say for you guys, if you guys saw my Twitter on Friday morning, which I'm actually recording out on a Friday afternoon, thank you so much for your kind words and also your prayers about my sister. She is actually okay. Yeah, that whole like almost getting into a car accident that happened was really traumatizing, but she is a very strong woman, and I'm very grateful that she is okay. But anyway, y'all, digress on everything that has been going on, Bulletcast Nation. Let's go ahead and talk about some wrestling, because we got a lot to talk about, especially with the wrestling headlines. Also, recap from last week's New Japan Strong, the results and recap from Impact Wrestling's Turning Point, which is exclusive on Impact Plus. And plus, of course, we're going to be saying plus a lot. From the latest episode of Impact Wrestling, which is the aftermath of Turning Point. And in between, I'll be covering the bracketology of the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament, which, of course, one of the matches has already been happening. So I'm probably will include like who is the winner when I'm talking about the matches, and also my final thoughts about saying goodbye to the Rascalz. Alright, Bulletcast Nation, let's go ahead and kick things off with some wrestling news headline. So anyway, y'all, so I did watch Primetime Live, and I was pretty blown away with the presentation for it. As I stated on Twitter, this is the second time I actually watched Primetime Live, because I was like, well, the matches I'm really looking forward to was actually the women's match between Lindsay Snow versus Ruby Race, which of course it ended in a no contest, but I'm looking forward to like their ongoing feud, which I'm so excited. But that's not the case for that. The headline I just found out while watching Primetime, which, as you guys know, the tournament for the I think it was a Primetime Live, or the United Wrestling Network title, was supposed to be taking place between Chris Dickinson and Mike Bennett. But unfortunately, when Johnny Lozano, which you guys remember him from NXT, and he does the NXT live show, which I remember him, he did the ring announcing work for the NXT Live in San Jose last year. I guess he's now got laid off or furlough from NXT, so he's now part of the United Wrestling Network doing backstage interviews. So it's good to see Johnny Lozano again. So he did interview Mike Bennett, and he just announced that Chris Dickinson did sustain an injury during one of his semifinal match, And unfortunately, the finals between Chris Dickinson versus Mike Bennett will have to be on hold until Chris Dickinson is cleared to wrestle, which Mike Bennett doesn't mind it. He's a very patient person. So, yeah, you guys. So, the finals for the title between Chris Dickinson and Mike Bennett is now on hold, which I understand. It's kind of very fortunate, but I know like a lot of people are going to be looking forward to this matchup. I know with that tournament, I noticed that there's like some change cards. Like we're supposed to be having like matches from like Carl Fredericks to Davey Boy Smith Jr., but then I don't know what's going on because I haven't even paid attention with like the whole situation of the tournament. So yeah, it was pretty interesting with like the changes to the cards and all the above, and especially the NWA Tag Team Championship match, which Aaron Stevens was supposed to be partnering with question mark, but instead he was partnering with, of course, none other than JR Kratos, and of course JR and Aaron won the NWA Tag Team title. So it is going to be pretty interesting to see how Primetime Live is actually kind of like handling the situation, especially when it comes to like this whole subject to change situation. But I understand, you know, the struggles and everything. They're trying their best, especially trying to put up a great show live on Fight TV. So wanted to wish Chris Dickinson on his speedy recovery. Hopefully we'll be seeing him soon, and especially with that brutal match against Mike Bennett. But yeah, anyway, so another news. Marty Bell is officially a free agent. News broke on November 17th, which is this past Tuesday. Marty Bell posted a tweet saying that she thanked NWA for giving her the opportunity to be part of the talent locker room and create some amazing moments. I met incredible people that I'm sure I'll see again. I'm just reading off from her Twitter post. And she said, I'm no longer signed to a contract with NWA. I'm not sure what's next for me, but I am excited to find out. So that's right, you guys. Marty Bell is officially a free agent, and yeah, I mean, it is pretty unfortunate. I mean, we all noticed that like a couple of the NWA star is now officially like done with the company. Like you have Thunder Rosa, Allison Kay recently, and then prior to that you had is Eddie Kingston, Ricky Starks, and of course, Ziggy Dice, I believe he's like now a free agent. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know James Storm and Eli Drake is no longer with NWA, especially with James Storm. He's now officially back with Impact Wrestling. And then you have Caleb Conley with 2Ks, you guys. He's now he's back with Impact Wrestling. And it's like a lot of the stars that you saw on NWA. Oh, and I forgot to mention Tasha Steele and Ashley Vox. Just wanted to include that. But a lot of stars like from Power are like no longer like wanted to associate with the company. So I'm looking forward to what they're gonna be doing with Marty Bell, especially which promotion she's gonna go next. It could be either like she's coming back to Impact or go to AEW or maybe with WWE, but who knows. I'm wishing nothing but the best of luck for Marty Bell. I know she's gonna be shine through like during this difficult time in the pandemic, but yeah. Anyway, y'all, so next up on the wrestling headlines. So we got some very wonderful news. So I know it's not that news, but I wanted to cover some like positive notes, you know, because when it comes to wrestling headline, I wanted to make sure it just brings like more of an uplifting, like, you know, feel good news. I know like I saw like a couple of like reports of like what's going on with AEW and in WWE and stuff like that, and it's kind of like, you know, a double-edged sword to it too. And especially it's all about, you gotta know like your research, you gotta know the facts too. So that's why I wanted to put a disclaimer, you guys, you know. So like whatever headlines I wanted to cover, I'll just say it. But then, like, the other news and all that, Philip and Brandon will be covering it during their usual episode of the Bulletcast. But yeah, and by the way, I'm drinking Starbucks iced chai tea latte with soy milk, you guys. Which, by the way, cannot digest, like, whole milk or anything like milk-related, like consuming. I could eat any milk product, but not like drinking it because it kind of affected with my stomach. So only drink like soy milk or almond milk or even oat milk too. Anything that is like a non-dairy that I cannot drink. But like eating and diet eating, I'm cool with that. But just want to let y'all know. But anyway, you guys. So I want to say is congratulations to WWE superstar Alexa Bliss and her new fiance, Ryan Cabrera, which you guys remember him from this hit song All the Way Down, which I haven't heard this song since high school, y'all. That was like freshman throwback. Man, I'm so old. Now y'all know who, like, my age and stuff like that, but I digress. Anyway, so yeah, they recently got engaged almost a week ago, and seeing the video of the way Ryan Cabrera did propose to her was so heartwarming. And especially that engagement ring, it was so nice, especially that stone on that cut. It's very exquisite. So congratulations to the newly engaged couple. So looking forward to a couple of like the wedding photos and whatnot very soon. And another good news, of course, you guys saw on the recent episode of AEW Dynamite, Jon Moxley did a video promo to cut about this upcoming contract signing against Kenny Omega, especially defending the title. However, he dropped a bombshell saying, "I have a pregnant wife back at home." And I had to rewatch it and then wait a minute, and I looked through Twitter. Everybody was so in shock. That's right. Jon Moxley and his wife Renee Paquette, formerly known as Renee Young in WWE, are expecting their first child, and that is a very heartwarming moment. So how it came about. So Dave Meltzer, of course, of PWI. No, of Wrestling Observer newsletter. Sorry, PWI. I kind of mixed up because I was reading about this whole PWI new list of tag teams. They sent out an issue, which is going to be a long one. So Dave Meltzer of Wrestling Observer News did report that Renee Young has actually been pregnant for quite some time, but Jon Moxley was initially against the idea of publicity announcing it. Meltzer also noted that the night before this week's AEW Dynamite, Moxley came up with a promo about his father and then decided to have the pregnancy announcement to tie it in. So that is a very clever idea to have, a very unique way to say, hey, I'm going to be a daddy. There you go. And having a more of this dialogue. I think that was a very brilliant idea for both parties, and especially with AEW too, just to get ready for getting ready for what to expect with the storyline with Moxley and Kenny Omega. So it was very beautifully coordinated too, and that's when everybody was talking about it on social media, and it was trending on Twitter. So yeah, you guys, I'm excited. And plus, Renee Young and Jon Moxley did an interview. Well, I think it's mostly Renee Young did recently got an interview on People's Magazine, which I'm looking forward to reading the article. And of course, she's excited that her and Jon Moxley are excited to start this new chapter and finally have the world know. Feels like a weight has been lifted off her chest. And she's like, I am the worst of keeping fun secret. However, I definitely couldn't have predicted the world would have found out on AEW Dynamite. So yeah, it's such a very heartfelt moment. And I know for a fact that whoever they're having a boy or girl, they're going to have a very cool AF parents. So congratulations, Renee Paquette and Jon Moxley. So hope you guys are getting ready for a new chapter of their life. So besides that, Becky Lynch has been posting on Instagram. First time posting in months, since her pregnancy announcement. And I think her last post is I think it was like a protest she attended, but digress on that. She posted a couple pregnancy photo shoot with her and Seth Rollins, and I must say, she looks really good, you know, with those, like, couple of those outfits, and especially Seth Rollins too, but digress on it. But hey, whether they're gonna have a boy or girl, of course, they're gonna be lucky that their parents are cool as well. So looking forward to, like, when the baby's coming over to the world. So yeah, so it looks so amazing. Anyway, y'all, so next up, and I know I made a promise talking about not too negatively, but I think it's going to be something that you guys wanted to hear my thoughts about this situation, which is, of course, the whole Selena Vega WWE release situation. So, as you guys know, like last week, Selena Vega has been released from WWE. It's all because of this whole situation with, like, the third-party content that she produced, like, you know, the whole Twitch, and then WWE did find out that she did started a OnlyFans, but she was only going to be posting just her cosplay and other, like, tasteful, like, photo shoot. Not to the extreme, you know, I'm talking about glamour shots, but clothed or half clothed, but you know what I'm talking about, because, like, when it comes to OnlyFans, you know, when people talk about OnlyFans, they're talking about porno or adult content. Yeah, y'all. Which, you know, and I understand, like, and there's, like, some of the influencers use OnlyFans, but, like, they only posted just, like, tasteful, like, photo shoots, like, in their lingeries or any sexy outfit. I mean, I do follow one of my favorite, former, beauty guru off of YouTube, but she's now I would say an artist slash a alternative, Instagram influencer. Her name is Victoria Dietrich, aka Tori Biohazard. I do follow her on social media since 2013, and she just launched an OnlyFans, like, a couple months ago, but, like, posting sexy lingerie shots and, you know, sexy outfits as well, but not to the whole extreme nudity and all that. So that's what Selena Vega has been doing, and WWE wasn't having it. So yeah, it's been a lot of, like, you know, like, conflicted reports, like, all around, but I know that, like, she did posted a tweet saying, like, she's for unionization, and of course, like, a couple minutes later, WWE announced her release. So yeah, so Selena Vega did actually did a recent live stream on Twitch saying that this past week has been hell, a literal hell. Friday was the worst day of my life, well, since 2001, which, of course, she talked about the day that her dad passed away from, of course, 9/11. And she continued on saying, when you hear about me in social media world, sometimes misinformation can be spread. It's important for me to get you guys to know me. I was someone who let people walk all over me. I was very insecure and I didn't stand up for myself. Looking at social media, I expected the absolute worst. I was pleasantly surprised. I thought people were going to look at me like a devil. It's just saying the narrative has been spun completely out of control and is completely wrong. When people see the real story that I put out, that's who I am. I learned to grow as a person. I've known to realize my worth and stand up for who I am and appreciate the things I've gotten along the way. So that's what she said on her Twitch stream. And, you know, she's been going through a lot since the whole release. But the only thing I will give props to is the Screen Actor Guild, Altifel, or what's that? Okay, so it's in, like, the whole word. The Screen Actors Guide, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA, or something like that, did reach out to Selena Vega because they wanted to, like, help out making sure the pro wrestlers get to be unionized, especially about the situation that has been happening. And by the way, want a heads up, the president of the Screen Actor Guild's American Federation of Television Radio Artists is none other than Gabrielle Carteris. You may remember her, for those of you who grew up in the 90s. She plays Andrea Zuckerman from Beverly Hills 90210. That's right. She is the president. She actually is the one that reached out to Selena Vega to help her what she needs and all that. So, yeah, it's been confirmed that they and Selena did actually spoke about like this whole unionization. I think that's going to be something that's going to bring a lot of changes to life because with WWE is like a double-edged sword to like a company where like they don't get the idea of the wrestler can do whatever they want, especially for money too. Like, you know me, that's like one of the reasons why I stopped supporting WWE altogether because they're hella shady AF. And this is like one of the perfect examples. So I'm just gonna leave it at that, you guys. But I'm glad like they're actually gonna be moving forward to like this whole unionization plan from the Stag Aftifra to the different pro wrestling. It's not going to be just WWE, but also other companies too, like AEW, Ring of Honor, MLW, I think, NWA, and Impact Wrestling, like within the state's soil. So, yeah, you guys. And last of the news, this is what I'm going to call the WTF news. Undertaker has a cameo. Yep. He has a cameo thanks to, I think, WWE. And guess how much it costs for Undertaker's personalized video message on Cameo, which is only available for 30 limited edition personalized video. Yeah, $1,000. Like, are you freaking kidding me? $1,000 to get like a quick video message from the dead man himself. Like, who could afford it? Well, let's see. Rich people, of course. People who are like diehard Undertaker fans. Influencer. Let's not forget we got some influencer who are huge wrestling fans. And they're very well off. You know, making banks. But yeah. Expensive AF. Like, hey, it's WWE for you. What do you expect? Yep. I have ice on it, so excuse me. As I'm trying to I'm trying not to like crush it or anything like that because I'm trying not to make it into like a whole ASMR type of situation, you guys. But anyway, okay, no more ice. Anyway, you guys, so yeah, it's dumb. But anyway, y'all, so enough of this wrestling news headline. Let's go ahead and kick things off with some New Japan Pro Wrestling stuff. So I forgot to mention you guys, so regarding with New Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag League and the Best of Super Junior, I'm actually exclusively covering those only on my personal Instagram page, which I know it's going to be a slight delay because I have to catch up with like night 4 and night 5 of these tournaments. So if you want to see like my recaps and also my thoughts of each of the show, make sure to head on to my Instagram page. It's going to be on Instagram TV at simply_C_okay. I'm going to be plugging those again as well since, like, of course, I don't have access to the Bulletcast Instagram page. I would love to so I can post it, like, giving my thoughts and opinions about it and go on Instagram Live, but you know, it is what it is, you guys. Anyway, so results for New Japan Pro Wrestling, New Japan Strong. They continue on the New Japan Showdown Tour from Friday the November 13th. That's right. And real quick, I do apologize with the botches of the match that was supposed to be happening. I thought it was going to be JR Kratos versus Jeff Cobb. But unfortunately, it's a different match, which I can't understand why, because the first match, I'm going to mention it, and I think this is going to be his final New Japan Pro Wrestling appearance, which I'm not 100% sure. It's a tag team match between ACH and Blake Christian versus Adrian Quest and Alex Zane. So as I mentioned it last week, Alex Zane did his final independent wrestling appearance because rumor has it he is going to be heading to WWE, which not sure if it's going to be 100% confirmed, but we'll find out. So for that, I think that this is like the final appearance of New Japan Pro Wrestling we'll be seeing from Alex Zane. So the match itself was pretty impressive. Your typical like high-flying maneuver. You have ACH like showing his attitude for a couple offenses, tag team moves alike, and especially like a lot of like impressive moveset, like, you know, tons of tope suicida, the standing Spanish fly, to a couple elbow strikes, roundhouse kiss, and all that too. And then at the end, of course, Alex Zane connects with the reverse victory rolled up to pin Blake Christian to pick up the victory. So Alex Zane and Adrian Quest did won the opening of the match, and, you know, wanted to wish Alex Zane the best of luck. Maybe this is the last time we'll be seeing him, but we'll find out. But who knows? Anyway, next up for the match you have is Fred Roster versus Filthy Tom Lawler alongside JR Kratos and Russ Taylor, known as Team Filthy. And of course, I was like, wait a minute, so we're going to be getting a new exclusive unit only for New Japan Pro Wrestling USA. But of course, I wanted to give a shout out to Baby Huey. He actually posted a comment on one of my live tweets saying that Team Filthy was I think originally in MLW. So appreciate it, Huey, for letting me know about Team Filthy. Even though I don't watch MLW, but, you know, I'm going to be trying my best to do, like, extensive research. And, by the way, shout out time. Make sure to check out the recent interview that Philip actually interviewed Baby Huey. I did watch, like, almost an hour of that interview, and it's a very compelling story. Even though Huey told me a different story of how his nickname came about, which, Huey, it's all good. We'll talk some other time. Just saying. Okay, y'all, I digress on it. But yeah, it's a very beautiful interview, so I highly suggest checking it out, you guys. And also some cameo appearance from Tom. So, yeah, y'all. Anyway, so the match itself is pretty cool. It's good to see Tom Lawler. The last time we saw him was only on, let's see. Oh, Lions Break Collision, of course. And these two, I mean, they were pretty much killing each other. I mean, you have Roster with not once, but a second headbutt. Tom Lawler with his usual MMA moveset, like 2 back elbow smash, and then the big boot. And then he did apply the sleeper hold to Fred Roster. Fred Roster with the belly to back suplex to the ring apron. Like, a lot of counters alike, and we saw, like, a little bit of, like, interference from JR Kratos, aka the one half of the NWA Tag Team Champion, and from Russ Taylor, which is not that much, but yeah. So at the end, Tom Lawler dodged the running boot, and then he did do the Olympala Cloverleaf combination to Fred Roster, and thus Tom Lawler won the match via referee stoppage. So it's a pretty well put fight. It was good to see Tom Lawler back in New Japan Pro Wrestling, which, by the way, it was taped in advance before, of course, as I mentioned it. He is still recovering from COVID, but he is doing well. So yeah. Anyway, you have is a 6-man tag team match, which you have is Bullet Club consists of Chase Owens, Tonga Loa, and Jay White versus Carl Fredericks, Brody King, and the returning Juice Robinson. That's right, Juice Robinson making his New Japan Strong debut. And of course, it was a pretty interesting dynamic between Brody, Carl, and Juice. Like, who would have thought they would be teaming together with like different personality and different characteristic mindset too? But yeah, y'all. So overall, the match was pretty fun and unique. Especially good to see Juice Robinson doing his like usual gimmick, being the flamboyant moonchild he is. So it is pretty impressive. And then you have Carl Frederick, of course. He is, shining the spotlight ever since he graduated from the LA dojo. He's putting like a lot of heavy-hitting moveset, especially facing off with not only with Jay White, but also with Tonga Loa. And it was like all around like good cohesive match. And of course, Brody King, like especially his face off with Tonga Loa, shoot, it was pretty good, especially like the lariat exchange, the forearm exchange against each other, man. And then of course, Brody King with the black hole slam, before tagging in Juice Robinson. So yeah, that match was pretty crazy though. And at the end, Juice Robinson did deliver the left hand of God to Chase Owens, and then he did the Pulp Friction to pick up the victory. So pretty much a very, very fun match. And then for your main event, you had is PJ Black versus Tama Tonga, and he still had long hair, by the way, before he got a haircut, just for the the World Tag League tournament. But anyway, the match itself, not much to say. It was your typical your standard match that I feel like I'm watching from a typical Ring of Honor show per se. A combination of Tama Tonga being a striker while you have PJ Black being a high flyer. So exchange it with flying elbow smash and then rear chin lock to spinning heel kick, fireman's carry position, and then flatliners, Koji clutch, all these impressive moveset from both parties. And of course, at the end, Tama Tonga did the stun gun to PJ Black and thus picking up the victory, you guys. So yeah, it was a pretty good showcasing for New Japan Pro Wrestling. We got the opening of the match to say Sayonara to Alex Zane, which is a possibility. Then we saw Filthy Tom Lawler having his Team Filthy crew along the ringside and picking up the W. The 6-man tag team match where Juice Robinson made his New Japan Strong debut, showcasing especially with this whole different personality aside. And of course, Jay White being frustrated as hell too. And then the main event match was pretty good too, which I feel like Tama Tonga is actually the stronger member of Bullet Club, especially showing his hardworking dedication and especially his mindset too, with some charismatic, of course. So with that being said, thumbs up for New Japan Strong. So I'm giving it 1.5 thumbs up. I was very blown away with the match altogether, and I really enjoyed it. So yeah, so for this week's episode of New Japan Strong, the matches. So you have is Clark Connors and the DKC versus Sterling and Logan Regal. And then you have Russ Taylor, who is part of Team Filthy, will be taking on Rocky Romero. And then, of course, you have another member of Team Filthy, one half of the NWA Tag Team Champion, JR Kratos. That's right. That's the match I'm going to be mentioning that I'm looking forward to. He'll be taking on the newest member of Empire, Jeff Cobb. Man, that's going to be... I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of APW references, you guys, but I'm here for it. And then you have, it's the main event match, Kenta versus David Finlay for the IWGP United States Right to Contract Challenge, just for that briefcase. And yeah, you guys, so that is it for the recap for New Japan Strong. I'll be recapping this week's episode on the next episode of Into the Stratusphere, you guys, alright? Now let's go ahead and move on to the recap for Impact Wrestling's Turning Point, which happens exclusively on Impact Plus because, it's like your, network special, just with, what Brandon said. It's like WWE Smackville or, the exclusive event. To me, it's kind of like a little bit of a glorifying house show, which is, still with no audience, y'all. But yeah, so, took place on Saturday, November 14, Turning Point. Your commentator was Josh Matthews and Madison Rayne. So the opening of the match you have is Eddie Edwards versus Sean Daivari, which, like I said, not much to say about this match. It was your typical showcasing match for both guys. And I'm guessing that Daivari is actually now officially back with Impact Wrestling, since I know he made his return during the Call Your Shot challenge at Bound for Glory. And I wanted to point out real quick, Josh Matthews did mention about Daivari's return and Jim Storm's return at Bound for Glory. And then he started to name a couple people of their return since Slammiversary. But there's one person he did not mentioned, it's actually EC3. So it seems that like EC3 is already done with his booking with Impact Wrestling, since he's now going to be focusing more is with Ring of Honor. So match was pretty your standard match, and at the end, Eddie Edwards did the Boston Knee Party to Daivari to pick up the victory. So yeah, you guys, it's your typical standards match that I feel that it should not be in that particular card, but you know, it's just to save time, and especially just for like a filler. Anyway, so you have a Knockouts tag team match, which is Taya, Valkyrie, and Rosemary versus Tenille Dashwood and Jordynne Grace, with Caleb with a K. Of course, Caleb with the K still doing the usual intro to Tenille Dashwood. And I want to say this real quick. So when Tenille came out and then showing her backside and like in the waistband of her ring gear, it say me. You know, like the camera is actually pointed like a little bit higher to her butt cheeks. So yeah, so basically she has sex appeal, you guys. I mean, don't get me wrong, she is a very beautiful woman. I saw a couple of her Instagram posts, especially like, you know, her amazing trips like to different places. So she is definitely a true wanderluster, like yours truly. I love to travel as well, visit cool places. So yeah, y'all, of course, my Instagram page is dedicating to like places I've gone to and showcasing my craft. But digress on that. So anyway, the match itself, it was like, you know, a hot mess, but it was actually funny as hell too. I mean, Tenille Dashwood was trying to get a couple of like pictures with Caleb, alongside Caleb K, but then Rosemary, of course, did photobomb it, and that's where she started to attack her right away. And then there's been like some miscommunication between Jordynne and Tenille, because, you know, Tenille is being like so selfish that like Jordynne could not be tolerated with that too. So it's so funny, especially with Caleb with the cage trying to take a couple pictures of Tenille while Jordynne is mostly doing the work, like, you know, trying to take down Rosemary and Taya as well. So I feel so bad with Jordynne that she had to deal with Tenille's selfishness too. But I do want to say this: Rosemary did the Muda lock, which was so impressive, and of course, like the spine buster from Jordynne Grace, it's pretty like outstanding too. And then of course at the end, Rosemary did deck the clothesline from Jordynne Grace, and then she did the wing clipper to pick up the victory. That's right. And after the match, Tenille and Caleb with the K did walk off while Jordynne was still down in the ring, and of course Taya and Rosemary standing strong. So yeah, good match, you know, but it was sloppy altogether. And then you have the backstage segment with the Deaners. Like, of course, cousin Jake Deaner did reveal that he is actually going to be challenging, but he didn't say about the title, but we know what he is challenging against, of course, which is like great. But at least he's getting like a push that he's deserved. But I'm going to get into that when I'm talking about, of course, that Rohit Raju Call Your Shot X Division title match, whatever. So Cody was really frustrated to Jake that he felt jealous and frustrated that he lost to Johnny Swinger. And then Jake promised him, let's go ahead and find Johnny Swinger, because of course the whole like who shot Johnny Bravo spiel to it. So yeah, they walk, but then they cut to, of course, next match. Brian Myers versus Swoggle. So Brian Myers came out with the new Titantron, which I really dig it. So no more New York Mets expired Titantron or his ring gear, of course. And then, of course, Swoggle did come out, and Josh Matthews actually plugged Swoggle's autobiography book, which I think I might gonna be picking up the book very soon. I think it's gonna be like an interesting read, but so I gotta still finish up reading the Bella Twins autobiography, as well as the New Japan Pro Wrestling Academy manga, and I got a zine to read as well from Monthly Prosoro, or yeah. Anyway, so Swoggle did plead to Myers that Impact Wrestling is his home and he deserves this. And Brian Myers was being like a total jerk to him, and that's when Swoggle slapped him. So the match itself, it was like kind of like your typical match. I do want to give props to Swoggle. He did an impressive job, like doing the Hurricanrana, and then jackknife edge chop, not once but twice, but 3 times to Brian Myers. And he did deliver the headbutts, and of course, like, so many impressive movesets from Struggle, like, putting up to his fight, especially, like, with his condition that he has. So I give major respect to him. But then, of course, at the end, Myers did the running lariat. Yeah. Swallow did the tadpole splash for the 2 counts, but then Myers did kind of like attack him, and that's when he did the running lariat to pick up the victory. So afterwards, Myers still continued to attack Swag until, lo and behold, Crazy Steve, what the hell am I thinking? Crazy Steve, actually came out and make a save. So at least, like, now we have, like, a storyline in the making that's probably going to be, like, a short feud, but hey, it's going to be pretty interesting to say at least. Anyway, after the match you have is the next match, Triple XL versus Chris Sabian and James Storm. So it was a pretty fun match, especially you have it's like the veterans of Impact Wrestling, like from 2 different teams in Triple XL, being the Ruthless, current tag teams of the company too. And so I would give props to Chris Sabian for putting one hell of a fight, especially like having like a different counter movesets from Larry D and also from AC Romero too. And then James Storm still got like a couple of the movesets too. Like he did the PK, and then of course he did the Clover for 2 counts. And of course he did an impressive leapfrog splash to AC Romero. I do say that. But the funny part is that Josh Matthews accidentally called Chris Sabian Chris Bay, but of course he did quickly apologize during commentary for that. So as when James Storm and Chris Sabian was about to do a tag team signature move, that's when they're trying to hype up like, a pretending crowd. But, the infamous chant, of course, the beer money chant. So James Storm said beer, and then Chris Sabian said guns. Oh my God. I freaking laughed the holy hell of it. Oh my God. And James was like, okay, that was close. Pretty good close. But hey, that was a pretty much a pretty fun match. And at the end, both Sabian and Storm did a combination finisher where Sabian did the running enziguri, followed by James Storm's last call pinning AC Romero, and thus Chris Sabian and James Storm did pick up the victory, y'all. And that was a pretty impressive match. And of course, you have as a backstage segment again, the Deaners looking for Johnny Swinger until they both heard Gia Miller screaming coming out of a particular dressing room, and she called him a creep. So both guys enter the room where Johnny Swinger's nowhere to be found, but they found his luggage and his fanny pack. And look what the Deaners found in his fanny pack. A handgun. That's right, they found a gun in his fanny pack. And they were shocked that Johnny Swinger is the one that shot Bravo. So we're going to go ahead and go to the X Division Championship match, the Defeat Rohit Challenge. So Rohit doing his usual promo. And then afterward, out comes Jake Diener looking shocked, but he looks really pissed than ever after like what him and Cody did discover. So yeah. So anyway, you guys. So Jake Diener did an impressive job doing his showcasing match. Like he did couple of like counters too. He did avoid the roundhouse kick from Rohit Raju, and then he did the massive haymaker to Rohit for a 2 count. And then of course like he went with the flatliner, but then Rohit did actually land back on his feet. And then Rohit did the double foot stomp for a 2 count. Couple of like chops and chops and like couple of like knee strikes all together. Then at the end, of course, that's when Rohit Raju did the running knee to Jake and he picked up the victory. And afterwards, we got it a surprise. So Eric Young came out and he's not alone. He came out with, that's right, Joe During. That is right. Joe During making his return to Impact Wrestling in many years. The last time we seen Joe During, he was having a special like Impact Wrestling where they used to be in GWN or something. No, GWN. And it was like the one night only special where he lost the match against Moose. But then prior to that, he was part of the earlier days of Impact Wrestling like years ago when it used to be TNA Wrestling. But then from then on, he did wrestle for All Japan Pro Wrestling, 3-time Triple Crown champion, and 4-time World Tag Team, All Japan Pro Wrestling World Tag Team champion. I'm sorry, not 3 times, 2-time Triple Crown heavyweight champion. I just wanted to let y'all know. I'm just looking at the notes right now. And also 4 times World Tag Team champion with All Japan Pro Wrestling. So he did team up with, so he won the title with Kenji Muda, Kono, Suwama, and of course, Sonata. And that's when, before Sonata joins Impact Wrestling and then New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I want to let y'all know just as a disclaimer. So yeah, it's really freaking cool that like Joe During is now officially back with Impact Wrestling, and I'm cannot wait to see what to expect more from him. I did watch his recent match, which it was a tag team match against Sam Adonis, which is Corey Grace's little brother and his partner, and it was a pretty fun match to say at least. So yeah, and I still gotta look for like his matches, like when he was teaming with Sonata, also his matches against Satoshi Kojima. So yeah, I gotta look for it through like online. But yeah, you guys. Anyway, so let's go ahead and move on to the next match right here. Oh, and by the way, Eric Young is wearing the shirt my boy Nick Winston's art follow him is his design, of course, that UI is wearing. So I'm proud of him. My friend Nick. So yeah, anyway, I digress. Next up you have is Moose versus Willie Mack. Not much to say. I mean, you have Moose Keep actually call out Rich Swann, saying this is what pain feels like. You're watching it. So he keeps saying this is what the pain feels like over and over again, and it's starting to get a little bit annoying too. But it was like more of an aggressive side for Moose. Like he wanted to beat the holy hell out of Willie Mack so bad. But I know that like Willie Mack is trying to put like counter like as much of this whole aggressive from Moose, especially with like how much he is like, beating the crap out of him too. And of course, Josh Matthews did name drop Brock Lesnar when he was talking about like Moose is the one that Moose is like the Brock Lesnar or something like that. Yeah, it's really crazy though. So yeah, so you have is Willie Mack with the standing moonsault for 2 counts, and then he decks, and then Moose did decks Mack with the elbow smash, and then Willie Mack did kick Moose in the gut, and then Moose negates the stunner. So a lot of craziness going on, and then at the end, Moose did actually knock Willie Mack out with like a couple of the rapid fire elbow smash like so many times, and that's after Moose did the spear so many times that the referee did call the match, declaring Moose as the winner, but Moose couldn't stop, and that's where the referee actually called reversed it, and the match ended in DQ. Therefore, Willie Mack did win the match. So yeah, it's very crazy to say at least, and we're not going to be seeing the last set of them too. Anyway, you guys, so next up you have is the Impact Wrestling World Tag Team Championship match, which you have is the North versus the Good Brothers. So anyway, the match itself, it was pretty interesting, back and forth action. You can tell, the Good Brothers are being as much aggressive as they can be to the North. You have a couple of Irish whips to couple of leg drops, to arm bars, different submission holds. It was like pretty impressive to say at least for it to. And then at the end, of course, Carl Anderson did the gun stun to Josh Alexander, and that's where he tagged Luke Gallows, and the Good Brothers did use the Magic Killer to Ethan Page, and thus the Good Brothers is your new Impact World Tag Team Champion. As I predicted before, they definitely deserved a title for it, and was super happy they won the title together. And I think they're like the first ever team since Team 3D, which of course, Bully Ray and Devon held titles from different promotion, like from WWE with like the Raw and SmackDown Tag Team Champion, and New Japan Pro Wrestling, of course. But I know like the tag team titles they need to have is like the NWA and of course, just saying AEW, but I digress. But yeah, so pretty much they are now the Impact World Tag Team Champions. So congratulations to the Good Brothers. I know they're celebrating responsibly. And so after the match, you have is Jordan Grace knocking on the door looking for Tenille, as Jordan Grace deserved to be really pissed. So Tenille and Caleb with the cane came out and asked her what's wrong. And so Jordan says she is the worst tag team partner ever. What was she thinking? And Tenille actually kind of like playing a mind game to Jordan Grace. And that's when Grace was so upset she walked up, and Tenille says she's such a loser. And out comes Alicia Edwards. And she came by and say like when she was her tag team partner, she did give the same attitude to her. And instead of calling her Jordan Grace, she should be called Jordan Disgrace. And that's where Tenille and Caleb actually laugh it off with what Alicia Edwards saying, especially with her leash-ism, of course. And then Tenille did say her favorite quote from former British Prime Minister Winston Churchill. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. And then Alicia Edwards kind of misunderstood, and she said, so you mean we're friends? Tenille's like, more of tag partners. So they agree that Alicia Edwards is going to be Tenille's tag team partners in the tournament. And that's when like she's saying, Tenille wanna be like me. Tenille wanna be like me. Oh man, Alicia Edwards is so adorable though. Eddie Edwards is so lucky to have Mrs. Anything Impossible on his side. So yeah. So anyway, so next up you have is a no DQ match for the Knockouts Championship match, which you have Su Yung versus Deonna Purrazzo. And that match was pretty impressive. There's like a little bit of a faulty botches here and there, but not too much. I know there has been a lot of like usage. Like Su Yung brought out the chairs, and then Deonna brought out the kendo stick, and then the trash can. And of course, you have is a pink canvas being utilized too, which of course Deonna said that's my masterpiece, and that canvas used for Su Young's red mist, and of course it was like broke off and all that. So, and what's so brutal is that when Deonna Purrazzo did apply the Venus de Malo, while she has Sue bury her head on that steel chair, is so bad and crazy. The referee had to check and see if she's responsive, so they have to make sure like her arms is responsive for the 3 counts, but when it hits 2, that's where Sue's arm has been raised up. So yeah, it was a pretty interesting, brutal DQ match, and at the end, Deonna Purrazzo delivered the Costa Nostras and became the new Knockouts champion. So that's right, 2-time Knockouts champion, Deonna Purrazzo. So yeah, I was pretty surprised they actually dropped the title to Su Yung real quick. I honestly feel it's like kind of tad too soon, but I can't understand why, because like what happened at Bound for Glory with the whole like Kylie Rae situation, Impact Wrestling had to put up like a very last minute to it. So I think like now they actually kind of like makes more sense to it for this particular story. So I'll get into that when I'm talking about the coverage of Impact Wrestling. So here we go. And now, lastly, main event match you have is for the Impact World Championship match. You have is Rich Swann versus Sami Callihan. And I must say, I was very impressed with their video package of how it all started. Like, they started out with the feud when, Sami Callihan used to be part of OVE, convincing Rich Swann to be joined OVE. You guys remember the whole storyline altogether and that feud? So they actually reunite the feud again ever since that Rich became the Impact World Champion and tagging with Eddie Edwards. And so it's really good, like, Impact Wrestling actually kind of mixed in with, like, Rich Swann's enemy, like, with, like, Eric Young to Sami Callihan and Ken Shamrock, too. So the match was awesome, especially how it was a couple of, like, defenses from Rich Swann and then Sami Callihan being the brutal AF as he is, like, headbutt exchange from Rich Swann, and then Callihan tried with the wasteland, and then the elbow drop for the 2 count. Callihan trying with the rear naked chokehold, but of course, like, rope breaks. Rich Swann and Callihan did actually, like, trade it back and forth all together, and then Rich Swann with the super kick, and then of course the whole, like, during the match you have is Ken Shamrock coming out trying to provide the distraction to Rich Swann as he was about to do the Phoenix Splash. But no, Eddie Edwards came out and attacked Ken Shamrock from behind, so thank goodness for that. And so Rich Swann with the step of Inziger, followed by a 3 spinning hook kick, and then a super kick, and thus Rich Swann retained the title. So, and thus that ends Impact Wrestling's Turning Point, an exclusive Impact Plus event, in which they did announce the next Impact Plus event is going to be 1 month away, which is Final Resolution. So I'm actually going to be watching, you guys, because, like, when I found out the results for Turning Point, I was like, I'm going to have to watch it because I know there's going to be, like, title changes aside, and we had a debut too of Joe Jury. So I was very impressed with the presentation for the network special. Especially you have, like, the backstage segment about the whole investigation of who shot Bravo is actually kind of, like, making into, like, a little bit more of a conclusion, especially tied into, like, the matches, like, the Deaners, like, with Jake Deaner accepting the challenge against Rohit Raju. I think it's, like, a better push that he deserves to. And then you have is, like, this whole, like, title changes pictures, too. So, with that being said, I'm going to give a grade because this is, like, a event. I'm going to give it a generous, solid B, you guys. It's not the good, it's not the best, but I feel it's like a match that some should be only exclusively on just a regular episode of Impact Wrestling. And then there's some that is, like, really impressive and blown away, too. And some is, like, very questionable, too. So, solid B, 1.5 thumbs up for Turning Point. So, yeah, you guys. And now let's go ahead and move on to the aftermath of Turning Point. Impact Wrestling, November 17, 2020, you guys. So, they actually updated the intro video altogether, which, of course, the only person that's missing from the intro video, the Rascalz, you guys, which I'm going to talk about their main event match, which is their farewell match. Anyway, so the opening of the match you have is their rematch from Turning Point. Turns out to be a no DQ match. Moose versus Willie Mack. Not much to say. This is the same stuff that we saw on Turning Point. I mean, still, Moose is still calling out Rich Swann, say this is what pain feels like. He's saying it over and over again. But mad respect to Willie Mack for putting one hell of a fight, especially the fact that, like, he had to deal with Moose's, like, aggressiveness and all the, like demeanor from him. And so, at the end, Willie Mack was about to go for the 6-star frog smash, but Moose did ducked out of the way, and that's when that's when Moose did try with the stunner, but no, Moose did spear the hell out of him, and then Moose did knock down Willie Mack so hard with the clubbing elbow smash, and thus, of course, Moose won the match via referee stoppage. So, yeah, you guys. So, the feud is still continuing between Moose and Willie Mack. And we'll see if it's going to end once Rich Swann did answer to Moose's question. Especially, I know for a fact that he still hold on to that old school TNA World Heavyweight title. So I think it's just going to be playing out, but who knows for how long. Because I know Rich Swann is busy like getting ready for like, you know, another feud in the making. So yeah, which I'm going to get into that like later on. So yeah. And next, y'all, we have is the final Treehouse segment with the Rascalz. Yeah. The Rascalz did reminisce the memories while being high, of course. They talk about past segments, of course. Zachary once went on a date with Gail Kim, and then you have his Moose, like being an a-hole to Trey. And like, even though they say they don't remember because, of course, they were stoned out of their mind, you know. And then Lights Out, as I think it was Trey Miguel say we didn't pay the light bill either. Which, of course, they had to be forcibly evicted from their tree house, you guys. So, yeah, which, again, I'm going to talk about the main event match. And I know it's going to be a little bit lengthy, too, because this is a farewell to the Rascalz. Alright, and then you have it's the whole Who Shot Bravo segment, which I'm just gonna like tie in together. So the Deaners came by to Tommy Dreamer, which I know that Tommy Dreamer was having doubts that Jake Deaner's the one that shot Bravo, but no, Cody Deaner did advise Tommy Dreamer it's not Jake, but suggested to check out Johnny Swinger's fanny pack. And then couple segments of matches. So Swinger came by being investigated by Tommy Dreamer. And then Tommy suggests to check on Swinger's fanny pack, which, of course, Johnny Swinger did call it the pharmacy. So after taking out a couple of stuff, he actually take out a handgun. That's where Tommy Dreamer was so upset. Sad. After Swinger said, I have a box cutter too. So Tommy Dreamer was really upset and say, you are guilty. For sure. And thus, he's going to bring him back Wrestler's Court. That's right. I'm not too familiar with Wrestler Court because this is prior to me starting watching Impact Wrestling again. So I got to do my research for it. I know it's going to be hokey as hell, per usual. And then you'll have it's a Wrestle House segment just to fill up the time. So, yeah, y'all. So anyway, next up you have is a filler match between Suicide. Dun, dun, dun. I like his theme song, by the way. Against a independent wrestler named Gio, which, by the way, Gio had a match at this week's episode of Impact Wrestling's Explosion, which is exclusively on Impact Plus, or you can watch it on Twitch. That's right. So he did have a match against Johnny Swinger, which of course he did lose to Swinger. Just want to let y'all know for spoiler content because I don't watch Explosion, even though I heard that. Well, actually, technically, Matt Striker is also on commentary for Explosion. So just want to let y'all know. And so, not much to say. And then once they were still in the middle of the match, Eric Young and Joe Doering came out. And of course, Joe Doering still attacked the holy hell out of them. All that. And so EY cut a promo and he say that that's it, Joe. I know what you done. I see the truth. And this is the truth. This will be the reason that you can't sleep at night. I told you all. I'll tell you the world. The world doesn't belong to you. It belongs to us. So there you have it, y'all. So yeah, looking forward to see what's going to happen. And then afterwards, you have a backstage segment where Gia Miller did interview Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly. So Deonna did talk about that it felt good that she is the 2-time Knockouts champion, and being with the company after 6 months, she got the opportunity that she definitely deserved. And Kimberly did say, like, even though she is in recovery from Su Young's attack from the last episode of Impact Wrestling, the only thing she wants, the curator deserves the crown jewel on her waist, which she did imply is the Impact Knockouts Tag Team title tournament. And Deonna agrees because she said, what's better than one title when you have two? And then all of a sudden, this crazy, creepy effect from Su Yung appear. And then once that effect is over, Gia Miller, all shocked and pointed to the mirror to Kimberly and Deanna, and they look, and it was a bloody message from Soo Young. And she said, "Next week, your time has come." So yeah, all these ladies are scared the holy Jesus of it. And then he has a backstage with Rhino and Heath, of course. Once Heath did make a call from the doctor that Rich Swann suggested, Rhino came out and he kind of confronted EY and Joe Dory, saying that like what they did, it's not going to happen, and he's not going to let them until they both attack it. And then Heath came by, and then he ran off, and then EY and Joe Dory entered the room, and that's where EY shut the door. So yeah, Heath Slater is going to get hurt by both guys, so just saying. Anyway, so next up you have is a match between Brian Myers versus Crazy Steve. Not much to say, except the fact that Josh Matthews actually promote the Super J Cup that Chris Bay and TJP is going to be competing. So I'm glad they actually promoted the upcoming Super J Cup for New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they say you can find it on Spy TV or New Japan Memorial. So, you know, there's a lot of like hint going on about like inter-promotional work from different companies. I know people are talking about it with the whole AEW and NWA, and also with the recent episode of AEW Dynamite, we have not one but two Impact Wrestling star made the appearance too. So, you know, never say never, you guys, but you know, we gotta wait and see what's going on. But anyway, it is your typical filler matches. Not much to say. I mean, Myers with the belly to back suplex, Crazy Steve with his typical stomp, and of course, like Steve with the corner clothesline, and then the running hip attack, and then the side Russian sweep, and the crossface chicken wings to Myers. And of course, at the end, like through Myers did block Crazy Steve belly to back suplex, and then he connected with the running lariat to pick up the victory. So yeah, that is it for like this whole like feud between Brian Myers and Crazy Steve. But yeah, and then you have to kick off the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament match. That's right. So the match you have is Tennille Dashwood and Alicia Edwards with Kayla with the K versus the team of Havoc and Nevaeh, y'all. So that is right. The tournament, it's already been happening. And, you know, it's a really entertaining match. I was laughing my butt off the whole time. So, Alicia Edwards did confront Nevaeh. She said, "Why are you so mad? Seriously, why are you so scary?" So Nevaeh, being the mom she is, no, seriously, she is a mom. And she said, "Seriously?" She said, "You do realize it's for the Knockouts tag team titles. You should be serious." And then Alicia said she didn't get the memo, and then that's where she started attacking her right away, like a firecracker as she is, too. So it is pretty much like your typical Knockouts match. And I think this is like one of the better matches I've seen from both Alicia and Tennille, actually. I mean, they did work pretty well despite like a little bit of the miscommunication they have. But hey, at least like they brought out like personality into life that I was actually pretty entertaining too. Especially with Kayla with the K, which he told Havoc to stay in the corner, and she told Caleb to shut your mouth. So yeah, I'm really loving this match. And then you know, and then of course Alicia did yell, "It's all about us, Tennille, it's all about us." And of course, like she did trying to like copying Tennille's moveset, like the whole Taste of Tennille, which is the lower crossbody, and of course she did try to attempt, you know, the dash woogie, which is the noogie to Havoc. So yeah, it was a pretty impressive match. And then of course at the end, which I was so surprised at the end. So Havoc did stop Alicia Edwards, and then that's when she tagged Nevaeh, and then they did a tag team finisher, the running cutter, wheelbarrow facebuster finisher, and thus Havoc and Nevaeh won, and they're advancing to the next round, you guys. So again, it was a pretty entertaining match. I enjoyed it. So with that being said, I'm gonna park it right here for a bit, because I know I'm going to be talking briefly about the bracketology for the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament. So, Tennille Dashwood and Alicia Edwards is out. Then you have Havoc and Nevaeh advancing. So, the next team, which they announced for like each of the match for like weeks and weeks. So the next match you have for next week you have is, get ready, former NXT UK star Killer Kelly will be teaming up with Renee Michelle, which you may know her from the Mae Young Classic, and she is married to current NXT star Drake Maverick, formerly known as Rockstar Spud, which he started at in Impact Wrestling, of course, and then, of course, Indies and all that. So they'll be facing the team of Jordynne Grace and To Be Determined, which I'm going to go into Jordynne Grace's segment. So she did make a phone call to someone that she says she agreed, that she's glad that she agrees to be her tag team partner. And she mentioned that, I heard you came, I heard you retire and stuff. So there is a lot of theories going on, like who will be joining Jordynne Grace as a tag team partner. But I could think of one person in mind that I feel that we're going to be seeing her return. Her mystery tag team partner, and this is going to be my wild card. I'm going to go with Brooke Adams, aka Brooke Tessmacher, aka Brooke, as Jordynne Grace's mystery tag team partner. I know she made the appearance at one of the virtual meet and greet, and there was a picture of her with Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz on Tasha Steelz's social media page. I feel that we're going to be seeing the returning Brooke Adams. That's right. I know she's inactive at this moment because like she is a mother too. She has 2 kids, and her recent one is her daughter who just turned 1 on Halloween, of course. So I don't mind seeing Brooke Adams like being back in the tag team, but whoever will be Jordynne Grace's tag team partner, I'm really looking forward to it. And then you have is Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz will be taking on C-Star, which is Demi XO, or I should say Demi E, and Ashley Vox. As I mentioned, Ashley Vox, who used to be in NWA Power, so she's now a free agent. So she is going to be in a tag team tournament with her tag team partner. So I'm looking forward to that. And then you have Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly will be facing Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. So here are my picks. So Killer Kelly and Renee Michelle versus Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner, which I say Brooke Adams. I'm going with Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner. Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz against C-Star. Obviously, I'm going with Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz, a.k.a. Flava and Fire. Deonna Purrazzo and Kimberly versus Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. I'm going with Taya and Rosemary. And I feel there may be going to be a shenanigan going on, especially from an appearance from the Undead Bride. Yeah. And now, so it looks like we'll be seeing Havoc and Nevaeh will be facing up against Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner. I'm actually going to go with Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner, and then Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz against Taya and Rosemary. I'm going with Taya and Rosemary on this, even though there's a rumor that Taya's contract will be expired by the end of the year, but who knows? Things may change. And for the Knockouts Tag Team Tournament finale will be taking place at their next major pay-per-view, which is Hard to Kill on January 16, 2021. Jordynne Grace and a mystery partner against Taya and Rosemary. My final pick for this, I'm going with Taya and Rosemary all the way. Not because Taya is my favorite wrestler, and of course this sweater from her tracksuit, which is so comfy, but I digress. But I feel like both of them definitely deserve the opportunity that they really needed, for the fact that that as a tag team, they can definitely carry on with the tag team titles and bring in the lineage too for it. So yeah, that's what I'm going for. Taya Valkyrie and Rosemary. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the next match, which is Hernandez versus Falaba. Not much to say. This is look like going to be the end of their feud, the whole Wada Cash situations. So yeah, your typical filler match, and then you have at the end Hernandez connect with the flying splash to pick up the victory. So yeah, there you go. And then afterwards, you have it's a vignette from the Good Brothers about their journey leading up to their whole like winning the tag team titles. And then backstage segment with Scott D'Amore, Rohit Raju, where Scott D'Amore is really annoyed with Rohit Raju's alter ego, and like he walked up and TJP came by to like console Scott D'Amore. Scott wanted TJP to be the one to compete against Red Raju, but of course he lost, and he's not gonna able to get the title shot while Raju is a champion. Scott D'Amore is so depressed, and he said this line. He said like he missed the Austin Aries days. What it means, Austin Aries days, like when he was in Impact Wrestling before he came back and became an a-hole, like I don't get it. And of course, like Scott D'Amore left was saying like he wished Dusty Rhodes would came back and have the solution for it, but yeah. And then afterwards, you have the Good Brothers with Gio Miller backstage as the Good Brothers being interviewed until Ethan Page came by and he demanded a rematch, which they say it's not gonna happen, but you know, but they'll make it work. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so here it is, the main event match that it is going to be very touchy and very heartbreaking. The Rascalz farewell match. You have is Desmond Xavier and Zachary Wentz versus Trey Miguel and Rich Swann. All three members of the Rascalz came out together doing their final entrance, and then Rich Swann came out doing the dance, and then right before the match started, he let the Rascal like follow him along with that dance move all together. And the funny part is that when the Rascal was trying to do the splits like one by one, and it was Zachary Wentz's turn, he did try the split, but of course it did hurt his junk. He's like, ow, ow. So yeah, and so Dez and Trey had to help him getting up. So yeah, it was a really funny moment for that too. So I would say this is a very amazing farewell main event match. All the Rascalz did put out, even though Trey Miguel is teaming with Rich Swann, but I can understand. And honestly, I feel that Trey Miguel is the leader of the Rascalz because he has like so many like opportunity as a singles competitor, especially like all three of the guys they competed just for tag team titles and X Division, but they never got a title win altogether. It was so much like cohesive communication with Zach and Dez, and it was awesome. So you have Trey Miguel with the Ripcorn Form smash to Desmond Xavier, and then Desmond delivered a gut punch followed by a knee lift. Then that sends Trey Miguel to the corner. Trey did launch Xavier over the top, and that's where Dez tagged Wentz, and Dez Wentz did apron Asaguri, which knocks Swann off the apron. So it was an impressive like moment, and of course you have Swann with the leaping Frankensteiner, and then he did roll through the frost splash to 2 count from Desmond Xavier. Trey Miguel Dex went with the back elbow smash. So yeah, a lot of shooting star press, haymaker, hot fire flame from the Rascalz. That's their tag team signature move. And then of course step up Enziguri, German suplex. You know, it's really impressive. And then you have towards the end, like Zachary was with the ripcord jumping knee strikes. And then the Rascal was about to do the hot fire flame again, but Swann did duck down the way. Trey Miguel did drop Desmond Xavier with the fly me Nora. Rich Swann with the super kick to Desmond Xavier. And thus, Rich Swann and Trey Miguel did pick up the victory. And that is Trey Miguel's final W. And afterwards, all members of the Rascal did hug each other, and they hugged Rich Swann. And it was a very emotional moment. After they're done with Rich Swann's entrance music, the Rascalz entrance music played out, and that's their curtain call, you guys. And their final curtain call is all three members of the Rascal did hang up their prospective jacket on the ring rope, and giving their final final Rascalz wave. And so afterwards they went backstage where Trey, Zach, and Des were about to say their final piece until Sami Callihan and Hall of Famer Ken Shamrock did attack the holy hell out of them. And Sami Callihan did actually beat up so bad, and then he tends to focus more is on Rich Swann, especially for the Impact World Championship match. And yeah, that is it for the episode of Impact Wrestling. And I wanted to say my piece about the Rascalz. I'm going to be missing the Rascalz so much on Impact Wrestling, but also in the indies as well, because I know there are rumors that they're going to be going to WWE or to AEW, but I know that rumors are speculating that they're going to be going to WWE because recently Kimberly did send out a tweet saying that her and Zach recently moved to Florida. And she complained about the Florida weather on her tweets, you guys. So whenever the Rascalz goes, I know that I'll be supporting them 100%. I've been fortunate enough to actually see the Rascalz match live. The first time I heard about Trey and Zach is Alpha One Wrestling when they debut on Independent Wrestling TV, and they were facing up against each other for the first time. That's how I found out about them, and then from there on I found out them and Desmond and Xavier got signed to Impact Wrestling and forming, and I know they were part of the Rascal Stables in the different independent wrestling companies too. And then I've been grateful enough to meet Trey Miguel last May in Canada at Alpha One Wrestling, and he's the coolest guy I ever met, and I told him, hey, I'm going to be seeing you at West Coast Pro, that's where I'm from, and he was pretty impressed by it too. So I was very grateful to see his matches, not only for Alpha One Wrestling, but also his West Coast Pro Wrestling. You guys saw on my Instagram story, which is still on my Instagram highlight, I highly suggest to check out the one West Coast Pro Wrestling presents In a Major Way. Trey Miguel compete in a triple threat match against, of course, obviously, Rich Swann and Chris Bay. His match was so fire, and it was such an amazing opening of the match. And of course, Desmond and Xavier and Zachary Wentz, I was very fortunate enough to see their match. They were in a triple threat tag team match against the 1% and the team of Watts and Andy Brown, known as the Leftovers. And that was a really killer triple threat tag team match, especially the part where while all the guys were beating up against each other, and it was just Zachary Wentz trying to fight off, I think, Andy Brown. Desmond and Xavier was right behind the curtain of the stage, and that's when he did the leaping 450 splash, landed on everybody, and that was a very high caliber 450. It's a 450 splash or move, so I gotta double check again, but it was the coolest thing I ever seen. Oh my god. So it was very awesome seeing their matches on it, and especially their matches from different promotion on IWTV. The last time I seen their indie matches, Trey and Des were at GCW for the Culture, and then the Rascalz was on the Joey Janela Spring Break show, of course. So I wanted to wish Desmond, Zachary, and Trey the best of luck in their career. Whichever road they go, we're definitely going to be standing by them no matter what. Thank you so much, guys, and we will miss you no matter what. Alright, guys, so for my thumbs up, thumbs down for Impact Wrestling November 17, 2020, I'm giving it 1.5 thumbs up. The main event match was my favorite, and it's a very most heartfelt match I've seen. Especially Like, we're going to be missing these guys, you know, especially bringing, like, their segment and their, like, dynamic teamwork alike. And you guys can tell I'm, like, a little bit choked up to it, too. And the rest of the matches, like, some are, like, fillers that I really don't care about, like Hernandez versus Falaba and Brian Myers versus Tracy Steve. The Knockouts Tag Team Tournament match was entertaining as hell, and I was very impressed with Alicia and Tenille's tag team dynamic for it, and Havoc and Nevaeh winning the match and advancing to the next final. They really deserve this, you guys. And yeah, so that is it for a very memorable episode of Into the Stratusphere, you know, I mean, yeah, you guys, it's crazy to say at least, like, you know, thinking back of, like, you know, wrestlers that you met in person and having, like, privilege to see it live at independent wrestling shows, you know. It is something, like, to reflect by, too. And even though I do miss going to independent wrestling shows, especially, like, we can't during this crazy pandemic era, you know. But I'm very looking forward to what's going to hold into the future once everything dies down, which I know is going to be for a very long time. With that being said, that is it for the episode of Into the Stratusphere. If you're watching this on YouTube, comment down below what you guys think of each of the shows and your thoughts and your opinions. I really wanted to interact with y'all. And if you want to follow me or send me DM, make sure to follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at simply_C_OK. That's SIMPLY_C_OK. And also, if you're watching it on YouTube, make sure to subscribe to the Bulletcast, you guys. So that way we can definitely get like more of the subscribers so you guys can watch the video. Like, not just for myself, but also Philip and Brandon. We provide dope AF content, y'all, especially in the world of wrestling. I know Philip is doing an amazing job doing the interviews, like, from different wrestlers and media personality, especially the recent interview he did on Baby Huey. Again, it was like very grateful, heartfelt interview, even though I got questions to ask about his nickname because that's what he told me in different sites. So, Huey, yeah, we got a lot to talk about. Just saying. And also, hopefully, Brandon will be bringing back his segment very soon. So, yeah, you guys. And lastly, episode 200 is going to be coming up very soon. I know they have episode 199 next week. And then, of course, the week after 200. And your girl is going to be there for the 200 episode. So, looking forward to this and forever grateful to being part of, you know, the Bulletcast family too. And hey, it is the spirit of Thanksgiving. So yeah, make sure to follow the Bulletcast on Facebook, Instagram, and on Twitter. And follow the Bulletcast on all podcasting platforms: Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Anchor FM, and other podcasting platforms. So with that being said, please remember to wash your hands 20 to 30 seconds, practice social distancing. Please wear your face mask and any other face covering at all time because like I said, the numbers is going higher AF. And yes, we are in a lockdown in a state of California and curfew has been placed for 1 month. So yeah, y'all, no excuses. And remember to please be kind to one another. We're all in this together. Hope you guys have a very safe Thanksgiving. And remember to be grateful for what you have, and especially for everybody around you. Till then, I'll see you in the next episode of Into the Stratusphere. Happy early Thanksgiving, Bulletcast Nation. Cheers.